Hi, everyone. My name is Bruce McClelland. I'm the president and CEO of Ribbon Communications. And first, let me start by saying it's a real honor to be able to be here today and speak to everyone. As I thought about the theme for this year's conference, inclusive innovation, bridging the digital divide, and as we continue to manage through the COVID crisis, it seemed very appropriate to focus my presentation on the network itself and really being a solution for bridging the divide. And it's really a powerful disruptive force for service providers. This year, we've all been managing disruption, both personally and professionally, that we really couldn't have imagined or anticipated. But when it comes to providing critical communications, it's been amazing to see how well the industry has really met the challenge this year. And more than ever, how important inclusive access and usage of the network is for all consumers and businesses. The resilience and the flexibility of the networks is really a strategic advantage. Conversely, this can really work against you if you don't stay diligent and stay ahead of the curve, investing and anticipating future demands. So I thought it might be helpful to spend a few minutes on this theme, really using your network to your advantage and really disrupting the competition, and share a few experiences from this year in areas that we're investing in to keep our customers at the forefront of the network disruption curve. First, I thought I'd provide a brief overview of who Ribbon is. I'm relatively new to the company, having joined earlier this year as CEO, but I spent over 30 years of my career in the industry. Ribbon's a relatively new name that came about 3 years ago with the merger of two companies, Sonus and Genband, both of which were some of the original innovators around voice over IP technology. We also have a really strong pedigree of all the companies that have come together into who we are today, including the acquisition of the fixed line telephony business from Nortel almost 10 years ago. We have a strong business with service providers, both cable and telco, as well as with a broad range of enterprise customers. In fact, with the explosion of unified communications this year and collaboration platforms like Zoom and Microsoft Teams and many others, millions and millions of people use Ribbon technology every day. Earlier this year, Ribbon merged with a company called ECI Telecom that expanded our focus into the optical networking space and IP solutions. While we're a US-based company, we have a significant presence in India and the Asia-Pacific region. In particular, our newly acquired company, ECI, has a very long and successful history in the India market. We work with many of the large carriers in the region, including Jio, Airtel, Vodafone Idea, Tata, and many, many others. We also have a significant R&D presence in India with over 1,000 engineers providing technology and great innovation, contributing to our entire portfolio of products. I was really hoping this event would be personal and face-to-face this year, and would have been great to see everyone and reconnect with everyone. But hopefully we'll get a chance to do that next year. This year, more than ever, I think we've seen how reliant society is and how we've become so reliant on the network. Telecom providers play a pivotal role, not only enabling connectivity and services, but basic functioning of the economy for consumers, for businesses, and for government. We really need to take the learnings from this year and apply them to our future planning and investment plans going forward. There's obviously been significant changes in consumer behavior this year as most companies have moved to a work from home operating model. This resulted in just huge increases in traffic in certain parts of the network, and in some cases, a big shift in traffic from the mobile network onto the fixed network. Traffic patterns have changed, application usage has changed, and the temporal usage throughout the day has changed dramatically. And I think this will continue to evolve and change a lot as we move into a more hybrid work from home, work from office working model going forward post-COVID. At the same time, I think it's really highlighted the challenges we still have in providing unified access and the reality that we really still have a very real digital divide. I think it's also highlighted how important both network architecture and technology selection is, and how it can really affect your ability to react quickly to dramatic shifts in traffic and traffic patterns and different applications, and need to really be able to quickly shift and address consumer demand. Ultimately, the level of flexibility, reliability, and scalability enabled by the network is a big differentiator. It really will dictate consumer satisfaction and ultimately, financial results for the company. There have been a lot of reports this year about how traffic has dramatically surged across mobile and fixed networks around the world. In India, consumption surged upwards of 30% on mobile broadband networks, forcing carriers to continue to add more capacity. And, in the middle of the countrywide lockdown, it's been extremely challenging to manage. But again, very impressive how the telecom providers have been able to react and provide incredible service. Practically all businesses shifted overnight to a work from home model, just creating skyrocketing demand for collaboration platforms and all forms of communication. So I thought it might be helpful, interesting, hopefully, to share a few examples of what we've seen around the world, highlight areas that we're investing and enabling our customers to use their networks as powerful disruptors for their business, disrupting their competition and ultimately gaining share. First and foremost, it's really hard to have too much raw capacity. Most network providers and operators have a variety of different predictive models to determine different triggers on when to add more network capacity and augment the network, and to plan around peak network utilization requirements. Of course, nothing really predicted what we've seen this year with network utilization and the growth in traffic. A few examples that we've seen this year, just to kind of go through a few things that we've seen. Here in the U.S. with Verizon, they saw immediate shifts in traffic from the mobile network onto the fixed network, both in terms of data usage and voice usage. In fact, voice call volumes just spiked enormously, peaking at over 800 million calls per day, doubling the highest peak day they've ever seen in a typical year. And then call durations at the same time, spiked enormously, with everyone being on conference calls, increased 33% over normal. With BT in the UK, they had over 100% increase in daytime traffic on their broadband network, and mobile data usage dropped just modestly. AT&T reported increases in many of their network metrics, but in particular, large increases in calls from home, both traditional landline calls as well as mobile Wi-Fi calls. And Telefonica in Spain saw significant increases in data usage on both their fixed network, which was up 26%, and in their mobile network, which was up 48% in Spain. So a lot of similarities across the world, but also some differences in the types of traffic patterns that many of the telecom providers have seen this year. I think the information here from Verizon and AT&T is very informative and really highlights both the type of traffic that has changed as well as the quantity of traffic. In the case of Verizon, of course, connections from the home back to the office through VPN tunnels increased dramatically, increased 50% over pre-COVID levels. And download usage and voice usage increased substantially. But so did gaming traffic, increasing more than 100% compared to prior periods prior to COVID. And these services have different requirements for the network, different requirements on the home network, the access network, aggregation, backhaul, interconnect. All different parts of the network are affected differently depending on the types of traffic. So just great performance across all these applications, and they all really require strong network planning and implementation. And ultimately, if you do it well, creates just great customer loyalty. I think Hans Vestberg of Verizon highlighted the importance of the network pretty emphatically with an increase in their spend this year of $1 billion directly into the network infrastructure. Verizon is one of our largest customers. We have a dedicated response team working with them and just very, very active this year, making sure we're carefully dealing with any performance issues and adding capacity into the network. I don't know how well you can see the pictures on the right here, but at AT&T, they saw similar spikes in different types of traffic across both mobile and fixed networks. In particular, a big jump in voice calls from home. Again, not surprising given the shift to working from home, but still just a significant change, kind of unplanned in the network. We've obviously all jumped, I don't know, 5 to 10 years into the future in the adoption of online collaboration platforms such as Zoom and Microsoft Teams. And I think even as we return to the office and move into sort of a hybrid operating model, I think the usage of these collaboration platforms are really here to stay and have become an integral part of how we communicate, and ultimately will replace kind of traditional private phone systems. A few stats on the slide here. Microsoft now has over 115 million active daily users, up over 100 million in the last 12 months. And Zoom, who's just exploded, their usage, more than 300 million daily meeting participants, which is a slightly different metric, but obviously just a huge number, no matter how you count it. Both of these services are deployed leveraging a cloud-centric deployment model and connect back to the traditional landline phone network via standard SIP interfaces. I think these new ways of communicating are here to stay, and in fact, I think deployments will expand as they become and replace traditional enterprise phone systems. And of course, software is a little bit of a myth. Of course, all software runs on hardware the last time I checked, but being able to use commercial off-the-shelf compute and storage, greatly improves the flexibility and advances in multi-core computing and GPU accelerators. Really means applications can run with similar levels of performance as custom hardware running on standard compute. A great example of this year in our business, working with one of our customers, Bandwidth.com here in the US, during the height of surge in traffic from the work from home transition, we needed to rapidly expand SIP trunking capacity in their network. And rather than deploying high performance on-premise, high performance hardware appliances in their data center, we were able to quickly spin up capacity in AWS. And I think this type of private public cloud hybrid deployment model is something that many operators have now adopted, and really a great way of enabling the elasticity to deal with surges in demand, as well as achieving an overall kind of lowest cost structure for the business. So what is Ribbon doing about all of this to support our customers? At the core of the network, the vast majority of our products are now already available in software-only versions. So either as enterprise software running in a data center or cloud-native implementations. Even traditional functions like high-performance voice codec processing, which typically has been implemented on dedicated DSP custom hardware, is now available on standard GPU-centric compute platforms, which greatly simplifies capacity planning, software upgrades, network management, all of these things. In the case of transport, from an underlying kind of raw capacity perspective, where you can't virtualize that. I always say you can't virtualize layer zero. We've designed a lot of flexibility into our products to allow programmability and elasticity, and obviously low latency to meet the evolving demands of different types of services that the platforms have to support. Ultimately, I think data is the gold dust kind of sprinkled across the networks. And we put a lot of effort into a comprehensive analytics platform that can really collect and process vast amounts of data, vast amounts of unstructured data across the network, and then present that for a variety of different purposes. So one great example, which gets a lot of attention here in the US, is the issue around nuisance calls, fraudulent calls, robocalling, all of those things, which just seems to get worse every day. We're able to provide a great set of tools that provides the operator the ability to really restore trust with consumers in the foundation of the phone system. And with our enterprise customers, we have a complete set of solutions now, from on-premise all the way through to public cloud and as a service options that reduces the friction for deployment and provides a lot of elasticity, and ultimately accelerating the time to revenue for our customers. So with that, I think I'll kind of wrap there. I firmly believe that the network is your key asset and a real weapon in dealing with the digital divide and ultimately helping to disrupt your competition. But in order to do that, you've really got to be, advanced thinking ahead, investing for the future, maximizing flexibility, scalability, reliability, and ultimately capacity. And I think the trends towards open networking and cloud are really, big enablers to make this happen, and ultimately will increase the customer loyalty, and ultimately the success of your company. So once again, thanks for spending time together this week, and I hope everyone just has a great conference. Thank you.